This is Game, Set, Match Kentucky, Episode 5, recorded September 27th, 2018, entitled, Bob Love is Not Forgettable. Hey everybody, it's time for Episode 5 of Game, Set, Match Kentucky, where we talk about all things related to the Central Kentucky Tennis Series, and maybe a whole lot more that you never asked for. Wouldn't be like us to get off topic, would it, Chad?
It's never happened before.
This is September 27th, 2018. I'm Chris Godby. I'm the chairman and one of the founders of the CKTS, where the lines are good and sandbagging is for golf. I'm here at the CKTS headquarters in Russell Springs, Kentucky, and with me today from Bowling Green again is one of our tournament directors as well as the tennis coach at South Warren High School, Chad Young. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it, Chris. I hate to take us off topic, but you kind of take a shot at golf. Are you not a big golfer? Not a big golf fan?
I do not own any golf clubs. I've got a mean putt-putt game, so I've got a really good short game.
I'm not a big golfer, but I mean, I really liked the Laver Cup last weekend, but I'm pretty psyched about the Ryder Cup this weekend. It's probably one of my favorite sporting events outside of a tennis sporting event. The Ryder Cup is probably at the top of the list.
The only video game I play is an app on my iPhone called Golf Clash, and I've been playing it for about 14 months straight every day. Yet I don't play real golf in real life. And no, it's not a shot at golf. It's just saying that we really want to fight against sandbagging here at CKTS, and we want to leave that for some other sport to deal with. And we're all about people, players challenging themselves to compete against better level players and therefore better their own game. So today on this episode of Game, Set, Match Kentucky, we're going to check out the latest CKTS point standings, which were just released yesterday. We're going to look also at what's coming up in we've got a lot of tennis announcements for things that are happening at various places around the state coming up in the next few weeks. We'd like to thank LakeNet Media for providing the web hosting for GameSetMatchKentucky.com. And ladies and gentlemen, this would be the point right here early in the show where I would thank your business for sponsoring this podcast and for providing resources to keep this show going. I would do, I guess as you would say in radio, Chad, I'd be reading copy.
Yep, you'd be doing your plug.
Exactly. So send a message to info@GameSetMatchKentucky if you're interested, and we will give you some serious mentions here on the program. Well, first, let's talk about the fact that we have had to reschedule the second tournament in a row here at the end of the season.
I mean, I have been part of the CKTS for probably, I think, 7 or 8 years. Have we ever had back-to-back tournaments rained out like this?
I don't recall that ever happening, no.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, both of my tournaments, we had the most rain this year at any of my tournaments that I've had some other years where I've had one tournament washed out like we've had the last 2 weeks, and that is a disaster. But for the most part, I've never had what I had this year. I think we had 2 rain delays on Saturday and 3 on Sunday in one of my tournaments, and the other I had, I think, two rain delays on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. So our rollers got a workout this year, and I know most of the tournaments on the tour this year have had to deal with rain in some way, shape, or form.
Some years it's a big deal. It gets in the way quite a bit, and some years we get really lucky. And this is not one of those years. So, these last 2 tournaments, the forecasts leading up to the weekend were so devastatingly bad that we just had to move them. Now, the Bachman Tennis Classic in Columbia that was moved back by 1 week, and it concluded a couple of weekends ago, Even in that second weekend, they had some periodic rain delays, but at least they did get it completed. Now, the current tournament, the Alton Blakely Lake Cumberland Open, was originally scheduled for last weekend, September 22 and 23, and now it's going to be this Saturday and Sunday, September 29th and 30th, and got my fingers crossed. The forecast looks really good for both days.
Hopefully we got all the rain out earlier this week because it's been a pretty wet one. I'll tell you what, I don't like to speak for other tournament directors because everybody kind of does things a little bit differently. I would say every one of them would agree that dealing with rain is the hardest thing about being a tournament director.
Absolutely. It's so frustrating because you have people that have traveled from 2 hours away at times, or even if they've traveled 30 minutes away, it's an inconvenience for them. And, you get the occasional person that kind of takes it out on you as a director. They take their frustration out on you, but most people know that we can't do anything about it, So we just have to take what we get and have the tools ready to dry the courts, the squeegees, the rollers, whatever we can use to get the puddles out and get the surface dry.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're looking at forecasts the week of, and then you're making decisions about when you're going to, try to resume play, and then you're making decisions about, if you're going to move people to different courts, and what we had really a weird thing that happened this year for us is we usually play at two sites. We play at Carioca's Park. We play at Warren Central High School. And I think in our July tournament, we were getting poured on at Carioca's, and Warren Central was dry as a bone. And so we ended up, I think that was on Sunday, that we actually moved matches over to the other site. But, yeah, I mean, once you have to get the rollers out and then try to get the courts dry, and then sometimes you'll start rolling them, but you can look on the radar that there's more rain coming. And so sometimes that I've seen people really get frustrated. They're like, well, won't you guys start working on the courts? And I'm like, because it's going to rain in 10 minutes.
It's going to be a waste of time. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and you're right. There could be in a larger town like yours, there can be part of town where it's raining and part of town where it's not raining, but at least you're able to get some of it played that way. So, yeah. But if you they've got a nice little turnout, not as many participants as they had for their original weekend at this tournament in Somerset, but still it's going to be a nice little tournament. It's going to start bright and early on Saturday morning and conclude on Sunday afternoon. Play is going to be at Southwestern High School in Somerset, formerly known as Southwestern Pulaski High School. But Southwestern High and Pulaski County High School, the original Pulaski County High School. So the matches are going to be there. And so that'll be it. We're going to have a great little tournament this weekend, and that will wrap up this season of CKTS tournaments. So what will we do on this show in the off season? We've got a few things in the hopper, a few ideas that we're looking at. So anyway, let's move on to our most recent point standings.
Again, kind of exciting. I mean, this is really when the points race gets, in some cases, it gets really exciting to see who's entered this final tournament and see who has a chance, or obviously some people have already got the season title already wrapped up.
Definitely. I mean, there's a few close races, but some were decided weeks ago. You want to start with men's open singles?
Sure. Men's open singles is still in play. Jackson Grover leads with 9 points. Jackson has played in all but one of the tournaments on the tour, and he has a 1-point lead over Wade Stone and Chupat Sivumelstein. So that tournament still, or that draw is still in play, and then you've got a couple guys that are only a 1.5 and 2 points back. So I would say that they all still have a legitimate shot, depending on who's entered and who wins that draw.
Now, the draws were released today, just a few hours ago, for the Alton Blakely Lake Cumberland Open. And so I have seen who is and who isn't playing. Now, in men's open singles, Hamza Sheikh, who's currently at number 4, 1.5 points behind Jackson Grover. He is also playing in this in the men's open singles in opposite bracket for Jackson Grover. So it could be an interesting. Of course, if they both make it to the final, it would be Jackson's overall title no matter what. But we'll have to see how the entire draw shakes out and how far both of those players get.
So Wade did not enter? Is that what you're telling me?
He did not. No.
Okay.
He did not. Men's B singles, the winner for the season is going to be John Silas Newton. He's currently sitting at 20.5 points.
I'll have to go back because I went to see the draw. So then that takes us to men's C singles, and Charles Roberts has a 2-point lead over Richard Jackson. Charles has 17.5 points, and he's played in every tournament on this year's tour.
He's also playing in the Alton Blakely Lake Cumberland Open in a couple of days, and this is a draw where it's a small draw. It's Charles Roberts and his father, James Roberts. So it's father versus son, and it's the only match, and they are indeed going to play. The person in second place in men's C singles is not playing this weekend, so it's going to be.
Charles has got it wrapped up.
He's got it wrapped up, but he's going to have to get through his father if he wants full credit. All right, in my next men's 40 singles, W.D. McCubbin is sitting at the top with 15 points, and I believe he is going to own the men's 40 singles for this season.
Boys 18 singles, I don't think it'll matter who's entered. Ethan Whalen has a commanding lead. He has 19 points with a 9-point advantage.
Now, John Carter Russell in second place with 10 points is playing this weekend. But it's not going to be quite enough to get the season title, but still you want to play and you want to win every time you can. In boys 15 and under singles, Dylan Dethridge is at the top with 13.5 points. He's also playing this weekend.
In boys 12 singles, Mason Baldwin leads with 14 points. Gary Zhang is 3 points back.
All right. In men's open doubles, at the lead currently is Dwayne Coulter with 11.5 points. There are a few guys that are close behind him.
We skip down to men's B doubles, and John Silas Newton also leads in that division. He has a 4.5-point lead over Larry Kohler and Craig Overstreet, who I believe are doubles partners.
Yes, they are not playing this weekend, and in fact, John Silas Newton is going to try his hand at open doubles this weekend.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Congratulations to him. Men's C doubles, we've got a tie at the top. They've got the division wrapped up. Weeks ago, it's Charles and James Roberts, the father and son team from Columbia, and they are going to take the men's C doubles title this season.
Men's 40 doubles, which this is the first year for that division, right?
That is correct.
Steve and Don Humphreys. I think you like to say the brothers Humphreys or the father
Humphreys
son
brothers.
Humphreys brothers, but their father son. 13 points. They lead Tim Perkins by 2 points. They're tied at the top with 13. Are they entered this weekend?
The Humphreys brothers are entered, and there is one of the team. They are way down the list, so the Humphreys brothers will get at least 3 points, and they'll have that division locked up as co-champions. In boys 18 doubles, Dylan Dethridge has a 1.5-point lead with 10 points over Calvin Doty.
And Camden Jones.
Yes, I see that. Okay, yeah, two-way tie for second place. That's right.
Women's open singles. I guess the question really is, did women's open singles make it in Somerset?
It did not.
Emily Novak has the lead, so she has already won the title with 7 points.
Maybe as this podcast spreads, more women at the open level we'll start playing more singles and doubles in our tournaments. Now, the Women's Open doubles is not too bad as far as participation goes, but it could be better. So anyway, we'll get to that. Next is Women's B singles, and Amber Wolf is going to take that title home at our awards ceremony in November. And currently she has 9 points.
In girls 18 singles, Connor Gallagher leads with 17 points. She has made at least, or she's made the final in every tournament that she's played in. And is she entered in Somerset?
She won't be with us this weekend, but she will take this division title because she's got it locked up. Girls 15 and under singles, Sarah Newton, who is playing this weekend, I believe, has 17 points, sitting 5 points above the second-place player, Jai Garas.
Girls 12 singles, Ainsley Stovall has a commanding lead with 15 points.
Okay, and the girl in second place, Arden Deathridge, is playing this weekend, but there's too much ground to make up to take the title, but she'll take runner-up for sure, it seems. Women's Open doubles, we have a tie at the top from two teammates, Cheryl Hensel, Trina Rickard. They're also playing this weekend, and that will mean that this season of 8 tournaments, they will have only missed the E-Town Open.
Women's B doubles, it's a close one. Amber Wolf has a half-point lead over Chatty Lee and Marvetta Overstreet.
Now, Amber is not playing this weekend, so Chatty Lee is playing with her daughter Lacey, and so she's got a legitimate chance to sneak up and take that women's B doubles title. Girls 18 and under doubles, Haley Woosley is in the lead with 13 points over Bailey Richardson with 10.
In mixed open doubles, Susan Hadley and Steve Humphries lead. They both are at 14 points. Lacey Lee is second on the women's side with 13. Justin Martin is second on the men's with 10 points.
Now, Susan Hadley and Steve Humphries are playing in mixed open doubles this weekend to try to keep their title with the slim lead that they have. In mixed doubles, by the way, we in CKTS, we have one male champion, one female champion. So they are the male and female champion right now. Anyway, let's move then to mixed B doubles. And we have a father-daughter tie at the top. Lex and Hallie Lindsay are each sitting at 16 points as co-champions currently of mixed B doubles.
It's a good thing because I think they're both injured too. So it's a good thing they got that wrapped up early.
Their lead is enough that they will hold on to that and keep it.
In mixed 18 doubles, Keegan Christensen leads the boys part of that mixed with 12 points. He leads Ethan Whalen by 1 point. And then Connor Gallagher leads the girls' race with 11 points. Ella Birch is 2 points back.
And we can unofficially declare Keegan Christensen and Connor Gallagher the mixed 18 and under doubles male and female champion because that division did not make for the Somerset tournament this weekend. And that is a look at the current point standings. Of course, we'll do this again after the final tournament of the season, the Alton Blakely Lake Cumberland Open, when we officially have some champions of each division and some runners-up of each divisions to actually declare. And again, a shout-out to John Miller over in Breckenridge County for working hard on our point standings for us after every tournament.
Now, have we established the date for the end-of-season banquet yet?
Yes. It's not set in stone 100%, but it's always – the last several years it's always been – the first Sunday in November. So if that holds true, and I believe it will, it'll be Sunday, November 4th. It's in Campbellsville, and it starts at 1 o'clock, I think. I'll announce that officially on our next podcast, but that's most likely it'll be Sunday, November 4th. Are you going to make it this time, Chad?
I haven't been to one yet. I feel bad. I don't know. I'll have to see.
I'm inviting you right now here in front of everybody to be the keynote speaker.
Oh, I didn't know there was an opportunity to be the keynote speaker.
Well, I'll tell you what, we haven't had a keynote speaker at our awards banquet since one year the great Bob Love was our keynote speaker.
Well, those are some big shoes to fill. I'll have to think about that.
Well, there's been probably an 8-year buffer since he did that. So, although Bob is not, he's not forgettable. So, that speech is still fresh in my mind, and I'll bet that most people who were there, same for them too. Let's take a look at some upcoming events. Of course, we have the Lake Cumberland Open this weekend, September 22nd and 23rd. You've already missed the deadline, which was about 3 days ago. And Mountain Tennis Circuit is having a tournament next weekend, October 6th and 7th. It's their final one of the year. I believe it's called the Whitley County Open. And if you're interested in that, you need to visit soon to mtctennis.org and get all the details, the person you need to call, the email address you need to send to get into that tournament. Now, let's look at some information for a larger scope in the state of Kentucky for tennis. Some dates here coming up, courtesy of USTA Kentucky. All of this information, of course, can be tracked down on their website at kentuckytennis.com. And I'd like to thank USTA Kentucky, Chad. I think you saw it too. They gave us a shout-out this week on their social media, on their Facebook and their Twitter. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool. Just gave us some props for spreading, some news about tennis in Kentucky across the state.
So hopefully we'll end up with some more listeners who will generate some feedback for us and maybe give us some ideas and some other things to announce. But here's some of the announcements that they have. And again, all of this can be found at kentuckytennis.com. Volunteers are needed in Lexington to help with the Combo Doubles Championships, which are going to be on October 12th through the 14th. If you're interested, please contact Nancy Sebring at 859-552-8792. Also, there's a team of 4.0 men from Louisville that are headed to the 18 and over nationals. They're captained by Rusty Meisner, and they are the sectional champions. They're going to compete at the national level in Arlington, Texas on October 5th through the 7th, so we'd like to wish them good luck. There's some upcoming junior tournaments. The Center Court Fall Junior Classic will be held October 6th through the 7th in Owensboro, and the registration deadline is October 2nd. Also, the Louisville Tennis Club October Championships will be October 13th and 14th in Louisville. Registration deadline for that is October 7th. So, to keep up with USTA Kentucky and all of their vast offering of events, please visit kentuckytennis.com. You can follow them on Twitter at USTA Kentucky, spell out the word Kentucky. Also on Facebook, they're at facebook.com/USTA Kentucky with the word Kentucky all the way spelled out. Now, the rest of you can send your tennis events, tennis announcements to info@gamesetmatchky.com. Chad, let's challenge the call.
Okay.
At times, we will get an entry for a young man or a young woman that want to play B singles or C singles, or they and their friend the same age want to play B doubles or C doubles, and we have to write them back. We have to return their entry and tell them that we don't allow kids to play in B and C divisions. Now, there is an exception to that I'll get to in a minute, but the challenge the call question is, why don't we allow kids to play in B and C divisions?
Well, I don't know if I'm that qualified to answer that, because that's kind of a CKTS rule that I've just adopted when we became a part of the tour. But I think the idea behind that is, and it is really, really, it's really difficult. There are definitely some junior players that are on the bubble between B and open. And, being a high school coach, that kind of makes it easier, but it makes it also harder, because you see players play and, it's really tough, because open is a step up from the high school level in most cases. But I mean, I guess the rationale that I've always heard is that, adults are looking to play against adults, and so that's why we haven't allowed juniors to play, especially if there's an age division for them. If there's an age division for them, boys 18, girls 18, boys 15, girls 15, and they can play in that, but they don't choose to, then they have to play in an open division. I'm not sure if that's the right answer, but
you're very close.
That's the answer I usually give.
You're very close. In the early days of the CKTS, we struggled to get enough junior players, and of course we wanted to have junior divisions. Another reason why this was outlawed, I guess, by our board of directors and tournament directors is that these adult men don't want to beat a kid on the tennis court, and maybe worse than that, they don't want to get beat by a kid on the tennis court. So that's why we have adult B and C divisions for adults to play each other. We also have age divisions for adults with the 40 and over, but we have kids divisions. We have 3 kids divisions. It's not completely in line with what USTA has. That would require us to offer more divisions than we have, and maybe we'll get there one day. But right now we have 12 and under, we have 15 and under, and we have 18 and under. Now, we should also mention that open division is open. So if a 12-year-old kid has some serious game and he wants to play in men's open, he is more than welcome to do that. And we've had some players that do that. So open means open, but B and C is for adults.
Yeah, I think I had I don't know how old he was at that time. He was either 13 or 14, and he won our men's open last year. Yep. So, I mean, but it's really hard, and there's an exception that I'm sure you're going to get to. And even with that, it's very difficult. Anyone who's ever played against a junior player in the B division, and it only usually happens when they're playing with an adult, whether it be B doubles or mixed doubles. It's hard because sometimes they're pretty good for B, but they're not good enough for open. It can be really tricky.
Now, the exception is, so again, the question was, why don't we allow kids to play in B and C divisions? And so we don't, but the exception is if the kid is partnered with an adult. So this allows, father-son or father-daughter maybe in mixed B to play together. So we do, if the kid has an adult partner that's 19 or older, they can play in B and C doubles. So, but exclusively a kid partnership, we don't allow that because we have an 18 and under doubles division for kids, boys and girls.
And if that's not good enough, if you don't feel like you're being challenged, then you can play open.
There's open, absolutely,
which is going to be a challenge.
We even have a mixed 18 and under. And that division has been there, gone away, and now it's back by popular demand. Even though it didn't make this weekend at Somerset, it's had its years where it's been very popular. Let's tackle one more quick challenge the call question. The question is, why do both doubles partners need to register separately for a tournament?
Well, the answer I would give on that is, as a tournament director, you need to have information about both players, to verify if it's an age level, if it's men's 40 or if it's girls 15. You need to have both players' information so you can verify, first off, that they're eligible for the division that they're wanting to enter. 2, you need to have contact information for both players in case there's a cancellation or if in case someone is running late or something like that. That's why you need to have both players. And then, when it comes to tournament entry, it's a lot easier when you have both. When we put the draws together. We enter the players, and then we match them up with their partners. So what ends up happening is if you see that somebody doesn't have a partner, then you have to go figure out, well, who didn't sign up for the event,
right?
And then you have to create that person. So it's a extra step or two for tournament directors when both players don't sign up.
And sometimes there's up to 3 people involved in handling the entries. For example, there for a given tournament, there might be a tournament director who's going to really manage things on site and maybe organize things behind the scenes. And then sometimes there's also an entry contact person. They are the one that's going to exclusively handle getting the entries, putting the people in the system, and doing the matchups and the scheduling and all that, the entry contact. So you've got the entry contact, you have the tournament director at times, if you're going to have an entry contact. Not every tournament does that. But then we also have, at USTA Kentucky, we have Mr. Brian Hash, shout out Brian Hash, the manager of competitive and recreational tennis, who will put players into the tournament data manager system for us as he sees the entries come in also. He gets those set up for us to manage at the time of the tournament. So it could be 2 or 3 people seeing the entries. So we're all watching the forms that come in to the back end of our website. So if Chad, like if you and I were going to play doubles together and I said, I'll just enter us. And so I submit a form for my singles and then for I'll put me and you in as open doubles. But maybe you change your mind later. Maybe I didn't actually ask you. Maybe we talked about it, but I didn't get confirmation from you. And then I put you down with me anyway. And the tournament director or the entry contact person and Mr. Hash, we're all putting you in the system and in the schedule, and we're counting on you to be playing. And like, I never signed up. I'm not playing that for, so and what you said too, we need the demographic information from each player. We need to be able to contact them. We need to know their birth date and all this stuff. So it's a separate entry form for everyone. So when you're entering one of our tournaments, reach out to your doubles partner and make sure they are also filling out a form. Anything else we can say about that, Chad?
No, it's really it's a courtesy for the tournament directors.
Absolutely.
But it's also it's important. There's information in your entry form that tournament directors need to put the tournament on the best they can.
Right, and if you were playing one of the larger USDA tournaments, you're going to be doing that anyway. You're going to be doing a separate registration for each purchase. So you're going to be doing a separate registration for each person, no doubt. Well, if you'd like to challenge the call, you can email us anytime at challenge@gamesetmatchky.com. Chad, it's just about time to serve out this episode. I want to thank everybody for listening again and ask you to make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so that you can get a feed of all the newest episodes. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts right there on your iPhone, or you can use an app like Overcast like I use. There's hundreds of podcast apps. We can also be found on Google We can also be found on Google Podcasts for you Android users, and we're also on Spotify. And if you like the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. That's very easy to do. You can leave us a review on iTunes. And, Chad, we've got a review on iTunes, and I would like to read it right now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
There's a review. This review, of course, first of all, it's 5 stars, which is awesome. So it's a 5-star review. And the title of the review it's a 5-star review, and the title of the review is Excellent Podcast! Awesome. And it says, a great way to keep up with the happenings in the tennis world near and far. This podcast is entertaining and done with excellence. And passion, yes, to engage a wide variety of listeners. And it's written by someone named Laura at Hospice. Uh-oh, that's my wife. Oh, that's my wife. She wrote that review. Well, thanks, Laura. I really appreciate that.
Well, at least your wife enjoys the podcast.
Yeah, she does. I'd say she's probably listened once or twice, and maybe she'll catch herself mentioned in this shout out. So, but yeah, leave us a review on iTunes, give us a rating on iTunes, and for all the episodes, you can visit GameSetMatchKY.com. Again, for episodes, show notes, and other information, please follow us on Twitter at GameSetMatchKY and like our Facebook page at GameSetMatchKY, or you can find us by searching for Game Set Match Kentucky, the podcast. Sponsor requests or other information, email us at info@GameSetMatchKY.com. Oh, there's that sound again. Looks like Hawkeye says we are out. So until next time, I'm Chris Godby with Chad Young, and this has been Game Set Match Kentucky. Whew, my throat is dry.
Go real long again. I didn't keep track of this.
35 minutes.
35 minutes. Not bad. Not terrible.
No, not terrible.
What was I thinking? Challenge the college. Something popped in my head when we were thinking about it. Oh shoot, I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, if you ever think of another one, just text it to me, or you can email at challenge@gamesetmatchky.com.
All right, I'll do that.